you could use the Oceania playground for teaching a lesson and doing a practice worksheet or a quiz before or after the lesson. So this is what it looks like when you'll open up the playground activity. And I have some slides in here just showing some examples how on the sticky notes along the sandbar pathway connecting each island, the teacher can put in whatever content they want for questions and answers, or delete or add more. One of the paths you can take is to start along the 20 question circuit. So you would land right here where this little red dot is, and then you would take your student down here where it says start, and there's 4 questions, and then they explore this island, and then 5 questions, explore here, and then more questions, and then explore, and again until they get to the end, and then they go back in the sandcastle, look at all the rooms decorated and ocean beach house, and then find the secret study. And the secret study is where I'm going to demonstrate how you can bring in some lesson planning materials. Okay, so that's one way. You could start by doing maybe like 20 questions to review what you learned the last few sessions and then go in and do a new lesson, or you can land here and take your student into the sandcastle, find the secret study, and start with a lesson plan, and then come out and do some practice reviewing what they just learned with these 20 questions as they explore the islands. The islands are intended to be built-in brain breaks. I have a lot of students with dyslexia and ADHD, and working memory and processing speeds are a little bit slower and more challenging. So I like to give them a little more breaks, a little time to recover when they've been focusing for so long before they move on to the next one. And just a few examples of what you could put on those sticky notes. So you could do your high frequency sight words, syllables for reading multisyllable words, strategies for reading multisyllable words, math problems, or ESL language vocabulary worksheets. Okay, so now we're going to go in the playground, and it might take a minute because there are a lot of images. But you can see this is about how fast it loads on my computer. It can take, up to 30 seconds. I guess I just cannot do a simple playground. I have to decorate it to the max. So, okay, so now I'm landing. And you can see I'm going to land right. Sometimes I land more right here. Okay. So the first thing I'm going to show is let's do the pathway where we start with a lesson and then we'll come out and do the questions. So let me go into first person mode. I'm going to go into the sandcastle. So you would just take your student down here, check out the front door, patio. You could explore the house. You can watch the other YouTube video I have on this. It's like 11 minutes long where I take more time kind of exploring the house, but this video is really focused on how to use the playground for teaching a lesson plan. So we're going to go in here. Okay, this is the treasure room where all the collected pirate treasure, and the secret study is behind the treasure room. Okay, so this is the secret study, and we're going to use these chalkboards for our lesson plan. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to go in and delete these sticky notes for right now. And let's say this is what I would be doing to prepare for the lesson before my student joins. Okay, so now I'm going to make this a little smaller so you can see my screen, my desktop there. I'm going to go in here and go to Image Library. I'm going to open up my lesson plan folder and put it side by side. Let's say I want to do a math lesson. So I'm going to bring in all of these images here into my image library. And now I'm going to, put up some of my images. So You can name your images whatever you want to make it easier to find. So there's my number bond template. And there should be some other screenshots. Here we go. And this one was called a 10 rod, so you can always just search. If you can't find what you're looking for, you can search and find it. Okay, so I go back and I'm done with that. So I can have my boards all set up, you know, with the things I want to do for this math lesson. So I can resize my tens blocks. I can bring in a place value game, a game board onto this chalkboard and resize everything how I want it. And then we're going to use focus view to work on the lesson plan. Sorry, just taking a minute to do this. Okay, so let's go into focus view. I'm going to zoom in and a little bit to the right. Zoom out a little bit. Okay, so if I lock this, I can make infinitely duplicatable, if I said that right, duplicatable. Let me make that smaller. And lock it. Now there's multiple copies of these. Oops, lock it. Make it duplicatable. I can delete that one. Okay, so if you're playing a game or doing some math problems with your student, you can always write on the board, you know, 120. This is very thick. Let me make that thinner. Plus 52. You know. Okay, so then they can go in and build that 100 because now I have infinite supply here. And then we're going to add 52, and they can go in and add 52. Yeah, bring in whatever materials you use. Okay, let's say we're done doing that activity. We're going to go over here. I can have another activity or game set up. Zoom in. Make this a little bit bigger. Maybe we've been doing work on number bonds, and we can play. We can bring out the dice and play that game. Oftentimes, for a lot of the math games I use, I need 2 dice, so I will turn on my document camera. Let me show how that works. And then I just have my camera aimed at my dice. And I just roll my dice on my screen for my students and me. All right. So however many dice you're using. And we can make that bigger as well. If you want, sometimes if my students are having trouble figuring out a problem, all right, I can go in and use looking for my whiteboard pen, my whiteboard, and say, well, let's do, you know, 15 plus 7. Let's break that up. And now we have a 20 and a 2. So when you're in the playground, you can still be using the cameras and your document camera to add to the lesson. So let me close that, make it a little smaller. Okay. Oh, and you can also, I didn't bring up the images of the tokens. So anytime you want to bring in an image, you just go to the image library in building. And let me look up. For some reason my keyboard is not connecting. 1 sec. I'm going to go back. Let me head out of that view and go back into the image library. There we go. I guess I cannot do it while I'm in focus view. So maybe I want one of my images to be an ice cream cone for our token. And maybe I want the other image to be a skateboard, so you can bring in any tokens. So that when we play the game, let me go back in focus view. Again, I can make both of these duplicatable. And we roll the dice, take our turn. We're going to cover those up. Obviously, I would make these smaller. This is really a game. And we'll play our Connect 4 game with whatever tokens or images you have. Okay, so that was a quick example of a math lesson. I'm going to go out here and I'm just going to delete these things. Oops. Unlock, delete, delete. And then I'm going to put up a few examples of if you were doing a literacy lesson, how to bring in those images. Do it the same way. And you can have all of your manipulatives and images and worksheets set up on these boards before your students come in the classroom, so you can have it exactly how you want it. So let's go in here. So I'm going to go to Image Library again. So I need to be out of focus view. And now I'm going to go to my lesson planning folder. Again, I'm going to open wherever your images are and go to reading and just put in my images. Expand again. Okay, and then search. These were just under screenshot names. So here I can put some images up. And let's do this one, right? And of course, I would have both boards filled with these images so they could be spread out more, but I don't want to take the time to delete all the math stuff in this little video demo. So we're going to go into focus view now. And you can see you can make it pretty big. Now this one, I would probably take a smaller screenshot so the text can be bigger, because that's a pretty big page, but you can bring in pages from any book. Let's look at this. Color in the words with the EA spellings, so your students can take the pen, make it a nice highlighter color, nice and fat, and say sea, beach, beast. Fill those in. Let's erase. Okay, I'm going to make this one smaller and enlarge another one. So you're working on prefixes and suffixes. You can make your own word cards, because you can see when I'm just taking a screenshot of a larger worksheet, the image quality isn't as strong. So you might want to take an individual screenshot of a smaller piece. But whatever words you're using, you can use the pen to use your multi-syllable reading strategies and, break off your suffixes. We can make that even smaller. Divide your words like that. Okay, so we're going to go out of focus view again, like that, hitting at the bottom. Take off our dice and zoom back out. So you could make multiple copies of this playground and have one set up for all different levels of your lessons, different lessons that are already planned out. And then after you teach the lesson, you guide your student back out. Oops, we want to go out. Let's say they just learned a new prefix or suffix, and you want to have them practice reading multi-syllable words with those prefixes or suffixes. You would go out here, and of course before they came to class, you just go in and alter these to say, oops, let me go back in. Hold on, for some reason my mouse. Something's happening. There we go. I was having some kind of glitch with my mouse. let's see, what was, where does it, so happiness. So we can confirm, and maybe on the answer, it would be what, what does the suffix ness mean, or what is the meaning of this word? And you can put the answer. And they're going to go through and answer all the questions and visit each island after they've answered the questions. They can go upstairs to Surfer's Paradise Island, come down, and then we continue to Perilous Peaks. And again, I'm not going to show the full island in this video. I'll link it. There's like an 11-minute video where I explore the whole island and you can see all the details. But that was an example of how to use this playground beginning with the lesson plan here. So starting the sandcastle, having your lesson all set up on the blackboards with your materials and your images, and then having your student go around the circuit to do their practice. And you can also do it the opposite way, where they start with a review of maybe what they learned last time, and then you go in the sandcastle to do a new lesson and give them some activities. All right. Well, I hope this helps any teachers who are looking for some fun ways to have lessons and exploration brain breaks built in.